Right, hello my darlings, back with the Great Big Ugly. This is number 16 for my week 14. So only one more week to go. So today I have a removable paper sampler. Little gatefold type folder. So I've stuck some pockets on the back with some of the extra papers and a little square, decorative square on the top. But when you open it up, you've got a sampler, my notes to self, and you've got lots and lots of different sort of textural paper samples going down either side that all flip up and can be written on the back. So they all hinge out on both sides. Very textural, and I'm loving this idea. There's so many different directions you can go with this, with fabric, with lace, with trim, with different types of paper going in different directions and different dimensions. So really, really loving this idea. So this is going in. It's from a channel I discovered, Jen's Arty Inclinations. So as my inspiration video, I'll give her a link down below. So, yep, and a removable sampler book. I'm really liking this idea. So I hope you stick around and enjoy. So for you, I'll be back in a tick. Right, my darlings, let's play with a new fun little idea I found going down the rabbit hole on YouTube. And I came across a channel I've not heard before, Jen's Arty Inclinations. And the idea is to make a paper sampler. So I've got sort of my fold. I'll put something on the front as a sort of embellishment to keep it closed. And the idea then is you have strips running down either side and lots of paper scraps sort of jutting out going along the edge as a sort of paper sampler. So I've got a piece of 12 by 12. It's just a one-off sheet that I found in a D-stash event. So I think I'm going to have that on the outside and that on the inside. So the first thing I need to do for my Great Ugly is to chop 2 inches off the top. So let's do that. So no, it's a really neat little idea. And I think I might try to replicate this idea as well using fabric in my sewing journal. So quite a fun little idea. So let's get that 2 inches off. Now that 2-inch piece is going to become my banding, but it needs to be the same height. So let's take 2 inches to make that 10. Line it up and give it a chop. And that then needs to become 2 1-inch strips. Get it straight as I can. And I'll use my scoreboard to score those to make sure I get them bang on in the center. So, scoreboard out. So those need a 1-inch. I like that side better. We'll see now. And that needs to be sort of folded in. And that width should be okay to fit in my Great Ugly. I don't want them to overlap, I want them to meet. So that is 12. So I need 3 and 3 scored. 3 on that side. And 3 on the other side. I can't remember from her video if she used cardstock or not. And I'm thinking the weight of it will be okay for this idea. Again, if it isn't, it's lesson learned because it's going in the Great Ugly. Well, there we go. Happy with that. So give those an extra. And these need to go down at, now do I want that side or that side? No, that side showing. So these need to go down at a 1/2 inch. There we go. And the other one at a 1/2 inch. And give those a fold in half. And those are going to be my little seams for my paper scraps. Not quite done, but it'll be fine. I might try to sew them, I don't know. But the idea is perfectly doable with glue or staples. Scoreboard away. Now those are going to live there inside with my strippies. So I've already done some. Let's do this side first. Pop this out of the way. And I've collected a whole bunch of scraps in different sort of widths, some embossed, a bit of vellum, just a bit of randomness really. And I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm just going to glue and layer them going up. So I'm going to make sure I'm up here centered decent on camera, and I'll speed this bit up, I think. Open my strippy out first. And here we go. And right, so I've got them all down, and bone folder, give them a really good crease on both sides, and glue, that one's down well. I'm going to glue that flap down, and where's my scrap? I've got scrap here somewhere. That'll do. I haven't gotten a new glue book out yet. I need to. I keep forgetting every time I go over to that shelf. Glue that down nice and flat. And then leave that glue time to set. And these just need to get brought down so that they're only coming out about halfway. So that center bit is 6 inches. So I want about 2 3/4 as being my sort of max. So let's get a piece of washi tape on my board. Sort of mark my max as being. So on my board, I'm going from my 10-inch line. So it's come over to about 2 3/4 is there. So I don't want my strippies any. Line this edge up to the 10-inch. And my weight on there. And then I'm just going to go through and tear them really at random places. And I've never done this before, ever. So this is all a bit random. I can go back and trim some of these or fiddle with them after. Get into that one a little bit farther out, that one, and some music, wallpaper, and that. I finally had to go with that 3D leaf embossing folder. And that last one so there's my little fabric sampler. So I'm thinking, because these can all be folded back, perhaps I want to do that before my glue stick is, yeah, let's fold them all back a bit. Because then you've got spaces then for writing on these. But I also want to go back and do a bit of stamping on them as well. So I'm going to give them all a little bit of a crease. And I think I will try to run that through my sewing machine once the glue stick has dried. So as the paper sampler is pulled out of the book, you've got all these little spaces to write inside the sampler. So let's fold all those back again. Saying that, I could have just folded this spine, couldn't it? There. That's one side done, and that will go in there. So I just need to get the other side done and run that spine through my sewing machine. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in a tick. Right, and back. I've got them both in there, and I can't decide if I want them going that way or if I want them going that way. But I think I'm going to stick with my original idea of them going that way. But then, sort of on my printer paper example, you really could have them layered and different randomly as well. So that's an idea. But I'm not going to sew this one. I am just going to glue them on. Just go for it. I'm not going to ink or... I just want to get the idea in the book. So the trickiest bit, I think, will be lining this up before Art grabs to make sure it's nice and square. So I'm going to turn it this direction to me and get it right on top and the bottom. There we go. Because Art will not wiggle. There we go. That side's in. It's a teeny bit sticking out of the top, but that's fine. And do the other side. And wakey Art. So now I'm really liking this idea. There's so many different ways you could do this in different dimensions with different materials, fabric, lace, paper, or combination, really. You do a combination of all to create those teeny tiny little hidden writing spaces behind. Because you could do some larger scraps of those in the back and then layer some embossed pieces or vellum or lace or fabric to flip-flap randomly over those hidden writing spaces. The only thing I did different, I don't think, what's her name now? Jen, on the video I saw, I don't think she creased hers, sort of pre-creased hers. I should think she had them all in flat. But no, interesting idea. And while I was sitting there, waiting on the kettle to boil downstairs, I've just torn some of the scraps up, 3 inch, 2.5 inch, 2 inch, and another inch. I could have gotten another piece in there to be my little closure piece to go on there. So let's get some glue on that. And have a look at the back now. And what else can we do with these scraps? What else can I do with this before it goes in the book? So I'm just gluing that on one side, pinning the glue. There we go. So there is essentially the idea that you have a sampler book now of of paper, of all different types of paper, different textures, some embossed, a bit of wallpaper in there, all different mixed weights of paper. But you could really go to town with this. So do I want to put something on the back? So I had these out. So I could attach more bits on the back to sort of be a holder for these other scraps and writing spaces. I didn't want to put anything on the inside there because you want to be able to fold these back and write on them. So I didn't want anything on the inside. I could cover that up. Yeah, let's cover it up. A little teeny bit needs to come off. Never mind. Let's mark that with a pencil. And tear that off. Go, my ruler. Well, that's not going to work going on that side. Do it on this side. And give it a rip. There we go. And let's do that so that it's covering the back of that. There we go, glue stick and glue page. So now, her video that I found this on is quite an old one, so if anybody else out there has seen versions of these, let me know, because I'm intrigued. I'd love to see some different takes on this idea of making a sample book. There we go. So that's there, that's there. Nope, there and there. And do we get some things onto the back? Yes, just do it. Let's get a notch on top of that one. And again, as in my Great Big Ugly, I can sort of envision this idea, if I want to try again, of using sewing, going back and inking. There's so many different ways you could do this in different sizes and different dimensions as well. So, and making them super neat or making them super scrappy, really. You could go in so many different directions. But then here, I'm just trying to use up random cardstock that I've got in my paper stash. Let's get that one on as a pocket. And let's see what we can fill this up with. Do I want to put any more little scrappies anywhere? You think? So 2 on the back. I'm going to leave the front. No, I don't want to fill those up because you want to be able to sort of go through here and fold all these back and be able to write. So, not happy with that. Let's get some of these bigger coordinating scraps and get them stuck in the book. So things like wallpaper. There's a bit of vellum there. Some of these larger pieces stuffed into the back. And then these scrappy bits can go into my collage. I've got a box in my scrap trolley for bits useful for making masterboards and things. So those can all go into the scrappy tray. Where is it? There it is. All these can go in here for future possible use. But no, all those are in there. And we have a sampler. Now, I need to figure out where to put this in the Great Big Ugly. And for my notes, I'm going to leave this printer paper in there. Doesn't need a lot of notes. It's just a gatefold, hinge, 2 paper hinges to hinge whatever you want on either side. Or a hinge on one side and super long scrappies going this way as well. Again, use fabric, paper, laces, do them in different dimensions. And there is another version that I've sort of knocked up off camera. If you create one of these on the hinge, but don't put it in a sampler book, I think it would make an interesting page edge. So let me go and grab the Great Big Ugly, and I'll be back at a tick. Rabbit Holin's back with the Great Big Ugly. So I've got a book propped up underneath her at the moment. Let's find that first one I wanted to show you. I might need an extra book. Hold on. And this I've just done with scrap paper. Same principle. Paper hinge down one side and lots of scrappies to be a sort of edge trim. But of course those could be any width you wanted. But I kind of like the idea of a sideways waterfall that's disguising what's underneath. So I'm just going to leave that one tucked in as an example in that clip. And then over here, I've got a place for my sampler to go in. So for my sampler, I've got those scrappy bits left in the back. So there's my printer paper example. And I'm going to tuck that under there. There we go. To live in there for my future self. So that, I had some, this is just unloved paper that's come out of my craft stash. So I've stuck a nice thick band down there. But I thought about height. I didn't think about width before I cut my 12 by 12. So this is probably going to be a little bit of a snug fit. But let's see if it will go in. There we go. Yes, it fits. So lovely. My sample book now, removable sample book, is in the Great Ugly. Happy with that. So nearby is a lot that I think I've already shown. The wallpapers and the tea bag one. And that one, I can't remember if I've shown. That is just an A4 piece of paper. So you fold about an inch on one side and then take the rest of your piece of letter paper and fold it in half to create a sort of flip out pocket. So yeah, yep, happy with that. The sampler is in, it's removable, and lots of fun different directions you can go with this idea. Very, very happy with that. Thank you ever so much, Jen, for the inspiration. So this is my Great Ugly number 16 for week 14. Only one more week to go, and I would have done my 100 days of the Great Big Ugly. And oh, wow, has it been a journey. So next week, there are 2 more ideas that I'd like to get in here if I have time. But then, of course, by next week, I want to have a proper big flip through and try to credit as many people as I can that have given me inspiration for the Great Ugly. So thank you ever so much, all of you, for watching, and hope to see you back again soon. Bye for now.